Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, Mets fans, baseball fans, sports fans. Hello, everyone. This is another Metropolitan Report Live. I am Alfred Jr., and I am a very upset, embarrassed, frustrated Alfred Jr. here tonight on this late edition of the Metropolitan Report. Clint Alexander, good friend of mine, Ron. Hello, Clint. Thank you for joining. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. But we are here. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize about the lateness. This live show was supposed to start at 9:15. I had a little issue getting some B-roll footage into the system here, so that took a little while. But we are here and we are live. Before we begin tonight's Metropolitan Report, just want to remind everybody to, if you're watching this on YouTube, we are simulcasting through several media channels here. We are simulcasting on Twitch, we are simulcasting on Facebook, and we are simulcasting on YouTube. If you are following on YouTube or watching this on YouTube, I rather, please make sure to go down below right there and hit the subscribe button. Share this podcast with all fellow Mets fans or even baseball fans for that matter. But I'm not happy. My good friend, Elliot Nicodemi, a great guy. I go to a lot of Met games with I and Michelle, always talking Mets stuff at Citi Field. We know who won. We know who won. Clint Alexander says, "Did you see Frank the Tank's rant?" Yes. For the first time, Frank the Tank, 40 straight seconds of cursing, that man. Frank the Tank Fleming from Barstool Sports. That rant was pretty entertaining, even though I feel the same way that he does. And Elliot says, embarrassing. Yes, that loss was embarrassing. We're going to talk about it all. The New York Mets, as of right now, today is obviously, for those of you who are going to watch this stream later on after it is no longer live, today is Thursday, August 21st. Thursday, August 21st, 2025. The Mets have already played their game today. That game started at 4:05 p.m. They played the Washington Nationals, not only losing the series against a team with nothing to play for, but they also lost in horrible fashion today. Good friend of mine, Randy Werner. Randy, good to hear from you. College football season's coming up, Randy, so I know you're ready for your Hawkeyes. But thank you for tuning in, Randy. But this Mets team, I don't even know what to say. You look at the standings. We're going to take a look at the Major League Baseball standings here. Now, the Mets, they opened the series on Tuesday against the Nationals. They won that first game Tuesday, lost yesterday, lost today. And it's just not – I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. Because I remember when this Mets team was 21 games over 500 at one point. They had the best record in all of Major League Baseball at one point. Best home record, best bullpen ERA, best pitching staff ERA. I don't know what happened. It's like June came around and the Mets just simply forgot how to play baseball. And then, I've said it ad nauseum here on Facebook, here on YouTube. You guys on Facebook see my Facebook posts. David Stearns, the general manager and president of baseball operations, did not build this team for a long-term stretch. He got lucky last year with guys like Jose Iglesias, Sean Manaea, who's still on the team, Luis Severino, all these cheap players you get on the fringe. And then you just hope for luck. David Stearns didn't intend to be a playoff team last season. He didn't intend for the Mets to be a playoff team last season, but the Mets got hot at the right time, lightning in a bottle. Lightning in a bottle happened this season. Mets were super hot in April and May. Mid-June came around. It all started with that Tampa Bay series at home, and then it all just fell apart. Randy says, nice seeing you, buddy. Yeah, your Mets are looking like my Cardinals. Randy, my good friend Randy, used to work for him at one point in time. He's a big Cardinals fan. And the Cardinals, and by the way, Randy, since you're here, I don't know what happened to Ryan Helsley. We got Ryan Helsley from you guys, and all of a sudden, the guy who was a lockdown closer in St. Louis comes to New York and just forgets how to pitch. And that's another thing. The bullpen, and we've been talking about it ad nauseum, but this bullpen stinks. The Mets today, playing the Washington Nationals, were winning the game 3-0. 3-0. 3-0. Home runs from Francisco Lindor and Starling Marte. Hayden Senga, who got called back up due to the Alvarez injury we mentioned earlier this week. He got his first Major League RBI today, which is crazy because he played in April and he played in early May, had a stint in July. But the Mets were up 3-0. 3-0 against a Washington Nationals team. Now, granted, this Nationals team has a great young core. Dylan Cruz, James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Keibert Ruiz. But they don't have anything to play for. This is a team that nobody expected to make waves. This is a team that fired their manager 3 months into the season. They don't even know if they're going to keep the interim manager past this season. They fired their GM with the manager. The Nationals have nothing to play for. They're rebuilding for the future. They're not expected to be good for another 4 to 5 years. I understand losing a game, but losing a series to a team with nothing to play for, those are the types of losses that hurt. And before we move on, a good friend of mine, Bryson Carver, the Carve Master himself, has a great show on YouTube that airs Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern time on his YouTube channel. He talks NFL, NBA, and some baseball, depending on what's going on. College football coming up soon. He's going to be on that as well. But he says, bad sign when the only thing the Mets addressed at the deadline, the bullpen, has been disastrous. And that's where I'm getting at, Bryson. The bullpen stinks. We get Ryan Helsley from the St. Louis Cardinals. Ryan Helsley was a lockdown closer, almost automatic, to get you a save. Now, granted, he's not going to come to the Mets and be the closer, but he's going to be the setup man for Edwin Diaz. And he goes ahead and just kept coming to New York. He's not good. Helsley has not been good. Tyler Rogers, another. Now, here's my thing about Tyler Rogers, right? We gave up Jose Butto and Drew Gilbert. Now, Drew Gilbert has been struggling since being called up to the bigs for the San Francisco Giants. But Jose Butto wouldn't have allowed that many inherited runners to score. Now, if you look at Rogers' numbers, ERA is 1.7 something. The runs don't belong to Rogers, but he's always coming into games where the previous pitcher left runners on base, and it's his job to limit the damage going forward so that the runs don't score. You put Tyler Rogers in the game, he's gonna allow those inherited runners to score. It's mind-boggling. Gregory Soto, same thing. Inherited runners. Ryan Stanek stinks. Outside of Edwin Diaz, the only arm in that bullpen that I trust is Brooks Raley. Ryan Stanek is no good. Good Lord, Frankie Montas is no. I don't even want him on the team. But if I keep talking about Frankie Montas, I might have an aneurysm because I'm going to yell. We got Helsley for next to nothing. I thought it was a steal of a deal. But Helsley has not been good. Rogers has not been good. Gregory Soto has not been. How does David Stearns focus on building a bullpen? And on paper, it's a super bullpen. But the results are not there. Soto stinks. Not Juan, by the way. Not Juan. Gregory. Helsley stinks. Tyler Rogers stinks with his sidearm submarine delivery. Baseball purist, one of my favorite supporters. Al, we are so cooked. Yes, we are cooked. You know what's crazy? The offense is actually hitting. The offense is actually hitting. And we still can't win games. And baseball purists, Reed Garrett's. Yes, Reed Garrett too. He stinks. I still haven't gotten over last week, Wednesday's game against the Braves. David Peterson got into trouble, and Reed Garrett came in and gave up a grand slam to Michael Harris. Bryson says, oh boy, here we go with Frankie Montas. Yes. Now, and here's the crazy thing. Paul Blackburn got designated for assignment. He was in the bullpen. He was another failed starter who had to convert to relieving. And we can let him go, and now he got picked up by the Yankees today. He got signed by the Yankees today. He's on their active roster. And honestly, I'd rather have Blackburn over Montas. As Romy is the best says, Mets are cooked 4-6 in the last 10 games. The only reason we won the series against Seattle this past weekend is because they're on a skid of their own. They can't win a game to save their lives. They're going to need more than just contributions from the big dumper. But our bullpen can't hold leads, and that's been the story of the last 2.5 weeks. Bullpen, and that's only from the 3 acquisitions. This bullpen has been atrocious since June. April and May, when we had Max Kranick and Danny Young and Dedniel Nunez and AJ Minter, this bullpen was okay. Even when we added Jose Castillo and Chris Davinsky and Richard Lovelady, we're still okay. But now we go and get former All-Stars and guys who are closers somewhere else, and Tyler Rogers and Gregory Soto and Ryan. And the worst part about Ryan Helsley, let me tell you something about Ryan Helsley. This guy, Ryan Helsley, has the audacity to walk out of the bullpen in Citi Field with an entrance. The man gets a light show. He gets flames and graphics put up on City Vision and on the digital scoreboards, and they turn the lights off and they ring the bells and play Hell's Bells, and you get an entrance, and this is what you do? At least Edwin Diaz, who's been more great than he's been a bum, he warrants his entrance. Helsley should not get an entrance until he gets back to form. And where have you ever heard a setup guy getting an entrance to begin with? I don't care that he was the closer in St. Louis. He's not the closer here. He shouldn't get an entrance. But this bullpen, I tell you, Reed Garrett, that was a guy. A baseball purist brought up Reed Garrett. Reed Garrett was a guy. April and May, lights out. Even parts of June, lights out. I made a video on this very same YouTube channel a couple months back bragging about how the pitching lab was working wonders because Reed Garrett and a guy by the name of Huascar Brazaban. Anybody remember Huascar Brazaban? Those guys were lights out relievers. And Brazaban's down in Syracuse now because he couldn't get his act together. It's like June came, the weather got warm, and the arms went cold. I want to stay on the topic of pitching. The starting pitching in this Washington Nationals series was god-awful. God-awful. Now, granted, the first game of the series, not too bad. Not too bad at all. I'm going to pull up the box score here. So, in the one game of this series, the Mets won. They won 8-1. That game was started by David Peterson, all-star this season, hit a little skid. Peterson went 8 innings, only gave up 1 run on 4 hits, struck out 10 and walked 1. The man went 8 innings. Most Mets pitchers don't even make it to 5. The man went 8 and then Ryan Static closed it out. It wasn't a save situation. He gave up no runs on a hit, 1 inning pitch. But then we go to yesterday, and this is the one that's going to hurt. Mets Nationals yesterday. Mets lose 5-4. Kodai Senga. I don't know what's going on with Kodai Senga, but Senga is I said at the beginning of this season he was the ace of this staff. He's not looking like an ace anymore. Senga's line, he went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs on 6 hits, walked 2, struck out 4. Tyler Rogers had a scoreless inning of relief, as did Gregory Soto. Reed Garrett did as well. All 4 runs charged to Kodai. The bullpen actually wasn't bad for once yesterday when we were already behind. But Kodai Senga, let's talk about Kodai Senga for a minute. Kodai Senga, I don't know. I thought he was the one linchpin in this rotation. But Kodai Senga, as of late, has not been on the money. Now, his overall numbers for this season aren't bad. 7-5, 2.58 ERA with 99 strikeouts in 104 2/3 innings pitched. But if we want to look at his last several starts, I don't know what's gotten into Kodai Senga. Kodai Senga, for the month of August, is 0-2 with a 5.21 ERA. And in those 4 starts that he's made, he's pitched 19 innings, only going he got past 4 innings twice, but 19 innings, giving up 11 earned runs on, what is this? 11 earned runs on 18 hits. 17 strikeouts to 9 walks. Not good at all. 327 combined pitches thrown. 197 of them are strikes. And for the month of August, batters are hitting 243 off of Kodai Senga. And you know what they say? In times like today, 250 is the new 300. But Kodai Senga, I don't know what's. You want to look at his line. August 2nd, right after the All-Star break ended, he went up against the San Francisco Giants at home in Citi Field. He pitched 4 innings, gave up 4 runs on 5 hits, including a homer, walked 3, struck out 4, went 4 innings. Up against Milwaukee a week later, August 8th, 6 days later, 4 1/3 innings, gave up 1 run on 2 hits. Well, 1 earned run, I should say. 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So he walked more than he struck out. Still didn't get to 5 innings. And then August 14th against the Braves at home, Citi Field, 5 2/3 innings. Gave up 2 runs on 5 hits. Struck out 7, walked 1. So that was a bit better performance. That was a game the Mets lost by a run. And then today, he went 5 innings, gave up, well, no, not today, sorry, yesterday. Yesterday, went 5 innings, gave up 4 runs, 4 earned runs. So you have 5, but 4 of them were earned, 4 runs on 6 hits, struck out 4, walked 2. Kodai Senga not looking like his usual self. I don't know if it's arm fatigue. He did go on the IL back in June, missed about a month, came back and hasn't looked the same. Baseball Purist says, Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong, on my knees, please save us. I'm going to talk about Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong for a second. Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong, I wouldn't rush Tong up because Jonah Tong just got to Syracuse from Binghamton. I want to see what he can look like at the AAA level consistently before I have a thought of bringing him up. I think Sproat, we'll see Brandon Sproat before this season is over. Rumor has it that when the Mets play the Phillies on Monday, they're going to need a spot starter. I think they call up Sproat for a game and send him back down, similar to what they did with Blake Tidwell in parts of this season before they traded him in the Tyler Rogers deal. But Brandon Sproat, I think we see him fairly sooner than later. Nolan McLean is on this team, baseball purists. So it's crazy to me that the pitcher on this staff that I have the most faith in currently is a rookie with only 5 major league innings and 1 start under his belt. But I really loved what I saw from Nolan McLean. And McLean did that against a playoff contending team in the Mariners this past Saturday. So I have faith in McLean. Peterson with the bounce back. I have faith in Peterson. Clay Holmes, not so much with the fatiguing arm. But I do agree with you, baseball purists. Brandon Sproat's got to come up because we're already late in the season. We got a little under 40 games left. Cincinnati, literally a half a game out. It's crazy. The Reds gained ground today, and they didn't even play a game. They didn't even play a game, and they gained ground on us. How crazy is that? So, you know, it's I hate to say this. Are the Mets a bad team? Because you know what they say about bad teams. Bad teams find ways to lose games. And the Mets, with how hot they were in the beginning of the season, I really thought that this Mets club would have been a contender for best team in baseball. But I guess I'm sadly mistaken. But nonetheless, Shaheem Taylor, a friend of the show, says it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Yeah, that's going to ring true for the Mets if they can't hold it together. Still enough baseball to turn things around and stay afloat. So we'll go to the standings here and pull them up. So the Mets, after today's debacle in Washington, sit 7 games above 500. 7 games above 500. Remember, this club at one point in time, in the end of May and the beginning of June, was 21 games over 500. This ball club was 21 games over 500. And now they're a mere 7 games above 500. But nonetheless, it's just heartbreaking here that this Mets team is basically falling off a cliff. Friend of the show, Bobby Munoz, is here. Good evening, Bobby. Just the guy I wanted to see. But this team is falling off a cliff. 67-60, 127 games in the ledger. 35 games to go in the season. So yes, like Shaheem said, still enough baseball to turn things around and stay afloat. However, time's ticking, and Cincinnati keeps winning. Bobby Munoz says, it's not a good stretch of games right now. Yeah, Bobby, it's not a good stretch. And here's my thing, right? So we look at the standings. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies, as we said on our last show, just lost their ace of their pitching staff for probably the season. Zach Wheeler has the blood clot in his shoulder. They say that he may come back, no timetable for his return. But to get a blood clot surgically removed, he's going to be out for a bit. He might come back in the playoffs, but who knows? This is not a Phillies show, so I'm not going to go in depth on that. But the Phillies sit atop the NL East 74-53. The Mets are 7 games behind them. I don't think that we're going to catch them in the division if I'm just being real. I'm a Mets fan 24/7, LFGM till I die, but I don't think the Mets can catch the Phillies. Not with the way that this bullpen is. And then it's like sometimes when the Mets offense is great, the pitching stinks. The pitching is great, the offense stinks. And then sometimes you get the worst of both. It's a terrible stench in Flushing sometimes. And then you want to look at the wild card. The wild card in the National League is very competitive as we speak. The Chicago Cubs, they hold the first wild card spot. They're 73-55, 5.5 games up on the Mets. Then you have the Padres, who are neck and neck with the Dodgers. The Padres, interesting scenario for the Padres. They're 1 game behind the Dodgers. If they could get hot and the Dodgers go cold, the Dodgers could fall to the wild card, which would be insane to think about with the way their team is made up with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and Max Muncy and all the money they spend in the offseason on Michael Conforto, Roki Sasaki, and all these other guys. And the Padres are 4.5 up on the Mets in the wild card. And then the Mets, they have the lowly 3rd spot, and they're holding off the Cincinnati Reds by 0.5 game. Now, the Mets, I hate to say it, but almost every game going forward is going to be a must-win game if we have any chance of making the playoffs. Because Cincinnati's just not losing right now. Thank God this past weekend they played the Brewers, and the Brewers beat them 2 or 3 games. The Brewers tops in the NL Central, and they just tonight they are the first team to get to 80 wins in the bigs this season. They're at 80-48. They did us a favor. It's crazy when a team that's behind you can gain ground on a day that they don't even play. The Reds were off today, and they're starting a series this weekend, tomorrow against the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's a team that has nothing to play for. Arizona 62-66. They're 5.5 games out of the last wild card spot. I don't think they'll catch us. But again, the Reds 67-61. They're 0.5 game behind the Mets. The only thing that helps the Mets right now is that Cincinnati has played 1 more game than the Mets have had. But I just to think about where this team was just a couple of months ago to where they are now. And I have no issue. Listen, whether you win the division or whether you win the wild card, it doesn't matter to me. You don't have a chance at a World Series if you don't get in the postseason, period. Look at the last couple of years. Maybe not last year because the Dodgers ran roughshod last year, but 2023, the Texas Rangers won the World Series. They were a wild card team. You know, there have been wild card teams that have won the World Series before. 1997 and 2003, the Marlins did it both times in their franchise history as a wild card team. So wild card teams have chances to win World Series, to even get to the World Series. So you don't have to win the division. So a lot of people say, oh, well, if you win the division, you're a front runner. That's BS. The Mets if the Mets can get into the postseason, I'll feel better about their chances. But you look at the last couple of years, you don't have to be a division winner. 2019, look at 2019, the Washington Nationals. Juan Soto, who's on our team, was on that 2019 Washington Nationals team. They were a wild card. That Nationals team with Juan Soto and Anthony Rendon and Max Scherzer and Patrick Corbin and Steven Strasburg, of all people. Wild card teams can win world championships in this sport. So I don't care if the Mets catch the Phillies or they don't. I just want to see baseball in October in Flushing. Granted, if the Mets hold on to the 3rd spot, they're going to play every game in the wild card round on the road. What do we have here? Bobby Munoz says, I'll be in Atlanta this weekend. If we go to Atlanta and play like we've been playing, the Braves are going to kick our rear. Yeah, that's true. I'll also be in Miami the last 2 games of the season. Well, Bobby's representing us on the road, but kudos to you, sir. But no, we've been playing bad. And I'm gonna roll a clip. They asked Juan Soto after today's loss how he felt about the Mets' playoff chances. This is what he had to say.
Playoff team. Huh? You guys are just a half game up now in the standings. Do you still feel like this is a playoff?
Wait, hold on. Sorry, folks. We got technical difficulties. That's why this stream started late. All right, we're going to play. Juan Soto was asked how the Mets' playoff chances are, how he feels their playoff chances are after today's loss in Washington.
100%. Since day one, we're still being, and we believe in each other, and we think we can make it to the playoff.
What will it take?
So there you have it. Juan Soto says they believe in each other. And I struggle to, there we go. He says they believe in each other. And maybe I don't know if Juan Soto believes what he said, or if he said that because that's what he's supposed to say. I mean, he is the highest paid player in the sport. But I don't know if because you're a superstar in the game, you're supposed to say those things. But I really want to know what the vibe in the clubhouse is like. And why'd they ask him? It's very interesting because usually when the team is not performing, they usually go and ask Lindor. But they asked Juan Soto instead. But the vibe in that clubhouse has got to be rotten. Bobby Munoz says, I respect that. What else is he supposed to say, though? I mean, yeah, you publicly can't give up even if that's how you feel. But it's got to be rough in that clubhouse. I can only imagine. And the thing is, earlier this season, I think it was a month ago, Lindor called a players-only meeting, which is what he did a year ago. And that players-only meeting sparked the change. Players-only meeting this year didn't do anything. Mets have got to turn it around. Have to turn it around. It's not looking good. And the Mets are going to go into a weekend series against the Braves. And the Braves are a team that even when they have nothing to play for, they always play the Mets tough. We saw it last week in Citi Field. I attended 2 of those 3 games. Sure, the night Pete Alonso broke the home run record, that was a blowout win in the Mets' favor. But the next 2 games, the Braves kicked the Mets right down the stairs twice. There was that one game, I'll never forget, last week Wednesday. David Peterson started. The Mets were up after 2 innings, 6-0, and the Braves came right back. Scored 11 unanswered runs and won the game 11-6. But let's take a look at the Mets' upcoming schedule. Bobby Munoz asks, do I know the pitching matchups this weekend? As a matter of fact, Bobby, yes, I do. We're about to get into it right now. So tomorrow, this is going to be interesting. Nolan McLean, who I've been ranting and raving about since he took the hill last Saturday against Seattle, who is 1-0 with no ERA, 8 strikeouts on the season in 5 1/3 innings. He's going to take the hill for the Mets, and hopefully that means that the Mets are going to win. Going up against Joey Wentz, a left-handed pitcher for the Braves, 4-3, 4.72 ERA, 59 strikeouts. Saturday's matchup, Clay Holmes, 10-6, 3.64 ERA, 105 strikeouts, going up against Cal Quantrill, who was just acquired off of waivers from the Miami Marlins. He's 4-10 on the season with a 5.50 ERA. If we cannot win this game Saturday and beat up on a pitcher who is 4-10 with a ERA over 5, that's sad. And then the series finale on Sunday, David Peterson, 8-5, 3.18 ERA, going up against Bryce Elder, 5-9, 6.29 ERA. Here's the thing. As Bobby Munoz says, Clay Holmes has done well for us. Yes, Clay Holmes has done well for us. But Bobby, you watch as many Met games as I do. Clay Holmes is clearly suffering from arm fatigue. Again, Clay Holmes, we've covered it ad nauseum on this show. Clay Holmes was a guy who was a reliever for a majority of his career. Has been a reliever since 2018 with the Yankees. The guy's used to one inning every couple of days. Then you go and ask him to at least get 5 out of that same arm every 5 days. He adjusted to the starting role well the beginning of the season. But since June, it's just been downhill. Clearly arm fatigue. He should have been on an innings count this season. He should have been on a pitch count this season. You can't expect a guy who throws one inning every couple of days to now take that same arm that's only used to one inning and put him out there every 5 days for 90 to 100 pitches an outing and try to get 5, possibly 6 innings out of him. He needed an adjustment period. Not everybody could be a Michael King. Not everybody could be a Seth Lugo and just adjust that easily. Bobby says we should at least take 2 or 3 this weekend. Now, here's some news on the Atlanta Braves, which bodes well in our favor. They've announced in the last couple of days they're shutting Spencer Strider down for the rest of the year. It's a lost season for Atlanta. Strider's been battling injuries. No need to throw your ace out there in meaningless games. Go rest him. Have him do some physical rehab. And they're going to hopefully get him ready for spring training coming up in 2026. The team has also shut down Austin Riley. He was on the injured list. He was working his way back, and they said, no, he's not going to return the rest of this year. It's a lost year. We're just going to get him ready for spring training. And Ronald Acuna as well, also on the injured list. He's not coming back either. So this Braves team without Acuna, without Riley, and without Spencer Strider, that's why they went ahead and got Cal Quantrill and Carlos Carrasco, our old friend, to fill up these spots. Chris Sale, also on the injured list, was working his way back. There's a chance he may still come back from what I heard, but they're most likely going to shut him down too. Bobby says, I don't care much for Montas. He should stay in the bullpen. Honestly, Bobby, I've beaten a dead horse on the Frankie Montas topic. I don't even want him in the bullpen now. Again, the Mets just designated Paul Blackburn for assignment earlier in the week. He has since signed with the Yankees. Steve Cohen has the money. Eat the $34 million and send Montas on his way. That's just my opinion. But that's the Mets pitching matchups against the Braves. I do agree with Bobby. The Mets should be able to take at least 2 or 3. But again, the Braves always play the Mets tough. They still have Matt Olson. They still have Marcell Ozuna. They still have Ozzie Albies. They still have Michael Harris. They still have Jerickson Profar. A team that has nothing to play for postseason-wise, but these guys have pride. It's a divisional matchup. But neither team is going to want to lose to the other. So the Braves, I'm not going to expect them to just lay down at our feet and roll over and let us stomp them out like a welcome mat. But again, that Braves lineup is still scary without Austin Riley and without Ronald Acuna. Again, Marcell Ozuna, Ozzie Albies, who's a Mets killer, Jerickson Profar, Matt Olson, Michael Harris, who hit the grand slam off Reed Garrett last week. So even the catcher Sean Murphy, he's not the same Sean Murphy that he was when he was in Oakland Athletic, but Sean Murphy can still hit. So don't sleep on the Braves. I think this series is going to be a gimme. Looking at the Mets schedule going forward. So after, as Bobby says, they still have weapons. They certainly do still have weapons. And Raisel Iglesias, their closer, is still a dangerous arm. So, and they also have Aaron Bummer. Aaron Bummer is a great reliever. Looking forward to the Mets schedule. After they play this 3-game set, against the Atlanta Braves. The Mets come home for a homestand. They will welcome the Philadelphia Phillies to town in another divisional series. Now, here's where things get interesting because the Mets are going to play the Phillies for 3 games. A lot can be swayed in these 3 games. Of course, as of right now, the Phillies are up 7 games on the Mets. The Mets can catch them if they can win the Braves series and they can win the Phillies series. The Phillies are playing the Nationals this weekend. If the Nationals can play spoiler and win that series against the Phillies, then things will get interesting come Monday, even though I don't foresee the Phillies losing to the Nationals, although the Nationals did beat them a couple of games ago. But on Monday, the Phillies, no announced pitcher. Kodai Senga scheduled to make a start on Monday. And then he's 7-5, 2.58 ERA. No pitching matchups on Tuesday. And nothing has been announced for Wednesday before the Mets have an off day Thursday and they start another weekend series next weekend against the Miami Marlins in Miami. But there again, rumors are Brandon Sproat. Rumors are he is going to be called up at some point in the next week. I would love to see that. I think he and McLean can pay dividends for this Mets team. Got to talk about some injury news, and this is one that I think it's safe to say we got to move on or look for somebody else after this season. But Francisco Alvarez, we mentioned he hurt his thumb in the Little League Classic on Sunday in Williamsport. He hit a double, slid into second, and tore ligaments in his thumb sliding into second base. Francisco Alvarez, this is the thumb on the same hand where he broke his wrist in spring training. Also, where he had the same hand that was also a broken hand last season. Francisco Alvarez has missed a lot of time. Let's look at the timetable here. This season in spring training, he breaks his wrist. He breaks his wrist, and he misses opening day. Doesn't play until June. Hayden Senger was the Mets' backup catcher in that little stretch of March when we played the Astros, and in April and in May. Luis Torrens was the starter prior to Alvarez coming back. Senga was the backup. Then Alvarez struggled mightily. The Mets sent him down in early July. They called Hayden Senga back up, and it was Torrens and Senga while Alvarez, while not injured, needed to work on his swing. Alvarez comes back, and now he has a torn tendon in his thumb. They're saying that he may or may not require surgery. He's going to be reevaluated in about a week, and if he can work through it, they'll wait till the off season to recommend surgery. But from the looks of things and from the reports that I've read, I think Alvarez is going to have surgery before the off season, just so he can be ready for next season. He's probably going to be done for the year. Bobby also thinks he might be done for the year. Bobby says the catching situation in Queens is sketchy. And it is, quite frankly, because Luis Torrens, although a great defensive catcher, he does not simply have the bat that Francisco Alvarez does. And Hayden Senga, now here's the thing about Hayden Senga. Hayden Senga is a feel-good story. Hayden Senga was a guy who, while he was in the minor leagues, he had a part-time job at Whole Foods stocking shelves. Everybody knows about it. He made the roster out of spring training this season on the opening day roster. When he was informed by Carlos Mendoza that he made the roster, he called his boss at Whole Foods to give him his notice that he was quitting. Never have to work a shift at Whole Foods again once you get to the big leagues. But Hayden Senga doesn't have a bat either. Hayden Senga played quite regularly in April and early May, and he didn't get his first career RBI till today. Senga is not a good bat. Senga's defense and his arm speed throwing runners out is pretty good, but Senga, his bat leaves a lot to be desired. I want to take a look at the Mets catcher production here. As Bobby says, Alvarez actually has been swinging a hot bat. But yeah, tough time he went down. So here's Hayden Senga. Hayden Senga on the season so far, batting below the Mendoza line at 163, no homers, 1 RBI, and he's had 49 at-bats this season, an OPS of .376. Again, Senga played in March, played a lot in April, a little in June, some in July, and had his first game in August today, as he's been in Syracuse more than he's been here in Flushing. But a Cinderella story doesn't get you results on the baseball field, unfortunately, and I like the kid a lot. And then you look at Luis Torrens, who not clutch at all, and he almost went down with a hand injury yesterday, catching Kodai Senga, but Torrens batting .210, 2 homers, 16 RBIs, .574 OPS. And then you look at Francisco Alvarez, who's going to be a missed sore spot at the bottom of the lineup. Although he strikes out more than one would like, Alvarez, his average is actually up there. 265 average, 7 home runs, 24 RBIs, OPS of .787. Now it begs the question, what do you do? Because it's too late in the season. You have 36 games left. What free agent catcher is out there? Matter of fact, I'm going to pull up the list. To see who would be available. No, nobody really. This is sad. This is really sad. This is really, really sad. There's really no, and the trade deadline's gone. There's no catcher available. They're going to have to tough it out with Torrens and Senga. There's no current free agent catcher in MLB available right now that can actually make a difference. The only catcher available is Jacob Stallings, who has split time between Colorado and Baltimore this season. Stallings on the season, batting a meager 134, no homers, 9 RBIs this season, and 119 at-bats. This season, he played 29 games in Colorado and 14 in Baltimore. He was designated for assignment on July 28th, and he elected free agency after he was designated for assignment from the Rockies on June 6th. He's the only big league catcher that could make a difference, and I don't even think he'll make a difference with those numbers. But yeah, Jacob Stallings is out there. That's the only option I could think of. But this catcher situation is murky. You cannot have a postseason run where you can't get any offensive production out of your catcher position. Senga and Torrens give you great defense, but defense can only do but so much. But I wish Francisco Alvarez well. Hope he recovers, and I hope he can make it back to the bigs before the season is over. But folks, we've reached the end of the line here. The Mets, they're going to open up that series against Atlanta in Atlanta tomorrow. Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Atlanta before coming home on Monday to host the Phillies. I will be back here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch on Sunday for another live edition of the Metropolitan Report. The Mets, they do play the Braves tomorrow at 7:15, Saturday at 7:15, and an early matinee game at 1:35. I'll be live around about 6 o'clock on Sunday to go live to give my thoughts on the game and the series and any breaking news that may happen. Stay tuned to the Metropolitan Report YouTube channel. I will have content coming out in the next couple of days as well as folks who want to rewatch or miss this episode. They'll be here for you. Also on the Metropolitan Report Facebook page as well. Follow us on Instagram, _Metropolitan_report. Again, I'm Alfred Parsar Jr. I will be back on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with another Metropolitan Report Live. Stay tuned to the channel on YouTube for additional videos throughout the weekend. And I've said all that there is to say, and the only thing else I can say is let's go Mets, and I'll be rooting for whoever's playing the Cincinnati Reds. So I guess I'm a Diamondbacks fan this weekend. But all right, folks, be good, be safe, and LFGM.